Meredith, and it is Canadian Fertility Awareness Week. And joining us this morning is someone who's been very outspoken. I have so much respect for how she shows up, very honest about her journey with fertility. She is a very good friend of BT. You know her, you love her from 98.1 CHFI. Welcome, Pooja Handa, to Breakfast Television.
Thank you.
Great to have you here,
So
Pooja.
kind.
And I'm serious. I mean, I've known you now. You know, I've had the pleasure of sort of being colleagues with you at a couple networks now, and it's been a real just pleasure to see you show up the way you do, really being honest about your journey so that others can, and others can feel less alone. I know that's been something that's been really important to you, but let's start with the journey, because you have been on one.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where when you're going through a fertility journey, it can feel like every day, every week, every month feels like a lifetime, because you're told that at any point your fertility can drop off. And so you know how precious time is. So to sort of fast forward through my 7-year journey, I'll try my best.
I mean, I don't know how you can, but I appreciate you trying.
Yeah, there's a lot. Basically, at the age of 34, I was married, and I had already been trying to get pregnant for a year, and it wasn't working, so we decided to go to a fertility doctor just to make sure everything was okay. Sure enough, we went to a clinic and ran all the tests, and everything came back normal. And the doctors were like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to start your family. So we started in the process of, they start you on something called IUI, which is just to monitor your cycling, make sure that, you know, you are trying when you're supposed to be trying.
Yeah.
And then eventually we moved on to IVF, tried a couple of transfers of embryos, and each time it didn't work. And my doctor was a little perplexed by it because all of the testing came back normal, so referred us to another doctor. So we moved on to another doctor and another clinic, and all this time I'm on fertility drugs. So the drugs do a whole bunch of things to your hormones and whatnot, but with that came side effects as well. So every time I would take the drugs, then I would have to have a surgery to fix what the drugs did. Wow. So it was this endless cycle of going through a cycle, doing the drugs, being on the hormones, having the surgery, it not working, starting again. And we did that at the next clinic. And in total, we ended up at 5 different clinics, 3 in Canada, 2 in the US, where every single doctor told us there was no reason why we couldn't start a family. And so I got to a point where I was like, is it me? Am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? And at the end of the day, my doctor said, how long are you going to do this? How long are you going to keep on going? It's been 7 years. Yeah. We've transferred 11 embryos and had 0 pregnancies. When are you going to stop?
Yeah.
And I think it took that conversation from a doctor for me to consider stopping. I would have went to the ends of the earth. I would have walked through a burning building to have a baby. I would have done anything. And she just said, I think you need to start to think about a different way of building your family. There isn't just one way, and you have to open your mind and your heart to it. And I know that involves a grieving process as well. But if you're willing to do that, there are some options for you.
And all of that, Pooja, you were doing while also showing up to work on television, on the radio. How did you manage that?
For the longest time, I sort of suffered in silence, as a lot of people do when they're going through this. And it was one of those things where, like, I had to work, and I was on a morning show, and my, job is to be bright and, perky and all of those things, which I was, but behind closed doors, I was suffering. There was a lot going on because there's an emotional toll, there's a financial toll, there's a toll on my relationship with my husband. There was so much going on all at once. And sometimes I would get the news, you're not pregnant, which I probably heard for, the 5th or 6th time. And then I would go right back on set and anchor the news.
Wow.
And I just learned, I think, to pretend like it wasn't happening when I was on air, and then would go home and just sort of suffer alone, and felt very alone in the process as well.
Well, that compartmentalization, though not everyone is on television, on the radio, I think women can really relate to that, having to show up in their lives. And we have less than a minute left, so you've got to come back, Pooja. But I want to talk about how you started to advocate for yourself in terms of your own mental health, because that is a huge piece of this, especially when you're going through it for such a period of time.
I think that it was very important for me to at least speak to my family and friends, my loved ones, and let them know what was going on, and just the ways that they could show up for me and support me, because it's tough when you watch somebody go through this. You want to fix it, And you end up saying things sometimes that actually don't help, like, oh, I had a friend or a neighbor or somebody who had a miracle baby, and you think that's helpful and it's not. Or did you try this? Or have you seen that doctor? Or trust me, if you're going through a fertility journey, you have looked up everything there is to look up and you've thought about it 1,000 times more than the person giving you the advice. So that stuff's not helpful. And I think really the best way to show up for someone who's struggling is to say, I may not understand, but I'm here for you always. And I think once I started having that conversation and putting the boundaries in place, that's when I started to feel better and more comfortable talking about it.
Well, and you just having the comfort to speak, on national television like this, hopefully that empowers others to be able to set those boundaries and to show up for their friends in the way that is actually helpful. And before we let you go, I know, this is a very happy ending to your journey. Tell me about your two beautiful children.
Well, I know that you don't always get a happy ending. And in my case, I was privileged enough to be able to have not one, but two surrogates be our gestational carriers and carry our babies for us at 3 months apart.
I just got shivers. Look at them.
Crazy story of them, them carrying both of our babies in tandem, but the ultimate sign and example of women helping women. And talk about the greatest gift anyone could ever give me. To this day, we are still in touch with our surrogates and we keep in touch, and they're angels. They're walking angels.
Well, as are you, my friend. Seriously, being able to share your story in this way, I know is helping so many women watching. And I know that you're very much in touch with your listeners on CHFI and also probably with our viewers here. Where can people reach out and find out more info about you?
On Instagram at Pooja Handa TV. You can also reach out on any of our socials at CHFI as well.
Yeah, I know you're doing a big coverage over there at the wonderful CHFI, and we thank you for that. Pooja Handa. Beautiful to see you, friend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.